Hello and welcome to Millennium News Hour. I am Tanziba Naurin. In today's bulletin, we will present you detailed news from across the nation and the world. Let's begin with the headlines of the day. Biden tells GOP his hopes, gets stiff response from McCarthy. US and allies announce plans for second democracy summit. Jeffries wins historic bid to lead House Dems after Pelosi. Tornadoes wrecking homes around South fueled by record highs. Oath Keepers Roads guilty of January 6 seditious conspiracy. Landmark same-sex marriage bill wins Senate passage. San Francisco will allow police to deploy robots that kill. Hawaii volcano eruption has some on alert, draws onlookers. US revises up last quarter's economic growth to 2.9% rate. Kim Kardashian and Ye settle divorce, averting custody trial. McConaughey, Kunis among pupil, Max Pupil of the Year. Clarence Gilliard, Die Hard and Matlock actor, dies at 66. Ukraine welcomes arms offers, no word on Patriot missiles. Ten killed in bombing of Afghan religious school. China vows crackdown on hostile forces as public tests Xi. MLBPA keeps Clark, extends executive director through 2027. And Messi and Argentina advance at World Cup, beat Poland 2-0. Now news in detail. President Joe Biden said Tuesday he hopes both parties' lawmakers can work together to keep the government open, boost spending for Ukraine, and avert a crippling rail strike. But the Republicans picked to be the next House Speaker shrugged off the sunny talk, serving notice that things are going to be different once the GOP takes control of the chamber. Biden's meeting with congressional leaders at the White House came as he looks to lock in more legislative wins before Democrats lose unified control of Washington on January 3. In the meantime, the president is dependent on Congress to avoid a government shutdown on December 16, and he wants major new funding to fight COVID-19 response and bolster US support for Ukraine's economy and defense against Russia's invasion. Most urgently, Biden has called on Congress to step in and impose a tentative agreement between railroads and workers to avert a potentially crippling freight rail strike next week. The Biden administration on Tuesday announced plans for a second summit for democracy next year, this time to be co-hosted by the governments of Costa Rica, the Netherlands, South Korea and Zambia. The summit will be held March 29 to March 30 in a virtual format and will be followed by hybrid gatherings in each of the host countries with representatives from government, civil society and the private sector participating. We are living through an era defined by challenges to accountable and transparent governance, the five countries said in a joint statement. From wars of aggression to changes in climate, societal mistrust, and technological transformation. It could not be clearer that all around the world, democracy needs champions at all levels. Together with other invitees to the second summit, we look forward to taking up this call and demonstrating how transparent, accountable governance remains the best way to deliver lasting prosperity, peace, and justice. The March Summit is a follow-up on an event that President Joe Biden hosted in December 2021 with more than 100 leaders to begin a global conversation about how best to halt democracy's backsliding. Emboldened House Democrats ushered in a new generation of leaders on Wednesday, with Representative Hakeem Jeffries elected to be the first black American to head a major political party in Congress, as long-serving Speaker Nancy Pelosi and her team step aside next year. Showing rare party unity after their midterm election losses, the House Democrats moved seamlessly from one history-making leader to another, choosing the 52-year-old New Yorker who has vowed to get things done even after Republicans own control of the chamber. The closed-door vote was unanimous, by acclamation. It's a solemn responsibility that we are all inheriting, Jeffries told reporters on the eve of the party meeting. And the best thing that we can do as a result of the seriousness and solemnity of the moment is lean in hard and do the best damn job that we can for the people. It's rare that a party that lost the midterm elections would so easily regroup and stands in stark contrast with the upheaval among Republicans, who are struggling to unite around GOP leader Kevin McCarthy as the new House Speaker as they prepare to take control when the new Congress convenes in January. Tornadoes damaged numerous homes, destroyed a fire station, briefly trapped people in a grocery store, and ripped the roof of an apartment complex in Mississippi and Alabama. 2 deaths were reported as the storm front continued to threaten parts of the Deep South on Wednesday. The National Weather Service had warned that strong twisters capable of carving up communities over long distances were possible as the storm front moved eastward from Texas, threatening a stretch of the United States where more than 25 million people live. Emergency responders had no reports of fatalities but were waiting for daylight to make sure. The threat for supercells capable of all severe hazards continues near the Gulf Coast in Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, and Georgia, forecasters said, after multiple tornado warnings were issued starting Tuesday afternoon and continued through the night. 2 people were killed in the Flatwood community just north of the city of Montgomery. They were in their home that was struck by a tree due to the tornado, said Christina Thornton, director of the Montgomery County Emergency Management Agency. Thornton said others in the area were injured and search and rescue crews were able to check all the houses in the area by Wednesday morning. The sheriff's office said a shelter was being opened at a nearby church for the affected residents. Oath Keepers founder Stuart Rhodes was convicted Tuesday of seditious conspiracy for a violent plot to overturn President Joe Biden's election, handing the Justice Department a major victory in its massive prosecution of the January 6, 2021 insurrection. A Washington, D.C. jury found Rhodes guilty of sedition after 3 days of deliberations in the nearly 2-month-long trial that showcased the far-right extremist group's efforts to keep Republican Donald Trump in the White House at all costs. Rhodes was acquitted of 2 other conspiracy charges. A co-defendant, Kelly Meggs, who led the anti-government group's Florida chapter, was also convicted of seditious conspiracy, while 3 other associates were cleared of that charge. Jurors found all 5 defendants guilty of obstruction of an official proceeding, Congress' certification of Biden's electoral victory. The verdict, while mixed, marks a significant milestone for the Justice Department and is likely to clear the path for prosecutors to move ahead at full steam in upcoming trials of other extremists accused of sedition. The Senate passed bipartisan legislation Tuesday to protect same-sex marriages, an extraordinary sign of shifting national politics on the issue and a measure of relief for the hundreds of thousands of same-sex couples who have married since the Supreme Court's 2015 decision that legalized gay marriage nationwide. The bill, which would ensure that same-sex and interracial marriages are enshrined in federal law, was approved 61-36 on Tuesday, including support from 12 Republicans. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said the legislation was a long time coming and part of America's difficult but inexorable march towards greater equality. Democrats are moving quickly while the party still holds the majority in both chambers of Congress. The legislation now moves to the House for a final vote, likely next week. President Joe Biden praised the bipartisan vote and said he will sign the bill promptly and proudly if it is passed by the House. He said it will ensure that LGBTQ youth will grow up knowing that they, too, can lead full, happy lives and build families of their own. Supervisors in San Francisco voted Tuesday to give city police the ability to use potentially lethal remote-controlled robots in emergency situations, following an emotionally charged debate that reflected divisions on the politically liberal board over support for law enforcement. The vote was 8-3, with the majority agreeing to grant police the option despite strong objections from civil liberties and other police oversight groups. Opponents said the authority would lead to the further militarization of a police force already too aggressive with poor and minority communities. Supervisor Connie Chan, a member of the committee that forwarded the proposal to the full board, said she understood concerns over use of force but that according to state law, we are required to approve the use of these equipments. So here we are, and it's definitely not an easy discussion. The San Francisco Police Department said it does not have pre-armed robots and has no plans to arm robots with guns, but the department could deploy robots equipped with explosive charges to contact, incapacitate, or disorient violent, armed, or dangerous suspect when lives are at stake, SFPD spokesperson Alison Maxey said in a statement. The first eruption in 38 years of the world's largest active volcano is attracting onlookers to a national park for spectacular views of the event, and it's also dredging up bad memories among some Hawaii residents who have been through harrowing volcanic experiences in the past. It was just 4 years ago that Nicole Skilling fled her home near a community where more than 700 residences were destroyed by lava. She relocated to the South Kona area, only to find herself packing her car with food and supplies this week after Mauna Loa erupted late Sunday. Officials were initially concerned that lava flowing down the side of the volcano would head towards South Kona, but scientists later assured the public that the eruption migrated to a rift zone on Mauna Loa's northeast flank and wasn't threatening any communities. Still, the uncertainty is somewhat unnerving. Despite high interest rates and chronic inflation, the US economy grew at a 2.9% annual rate from July through September, the government said Wednesday in a healthy upgrade from its initial estimate. Last quarter's rise in the US gross domestic product, the economy's total output of goods and services, followed 2 straight quarters of contraction. The decline in output had raised fears that the economy might have slipped into a recession in the first half of the year, despite a still robust job market and steady consumer spending. Since then, though, most signs have pointed to a resilient if slow-moving economy, led by steady hiring, plentiful job openings, and low unemployment. Wednesday's government report showed that the restoration of growth in the July to September period was led by solid gains in exports and consumer spending that was stronger than originally reported. Kim Kardashian and Ye have reached a settlement in their divorce, averting a trial that had been set for next month, court documents filed Tuesday showed. The former couple and their attorneys filed documents asking for a judge's approval of terms they have agreed on, including $200,000 per month child support payments from Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, to Kardashian. The two will have joint custody and neither will pay the other spousal support, according to the documents filed in Los Angeles Superior Court. The judge declared the two legally single at Kardashian's request in March, ending their 8-year marriage. But issues of property and custody remained that were to be worked out in a trial starting December 14. The two have 4 children whose ages range from 3 to 9 years old. Kardashian and Ye will equally split the expenses for the kids' private security and private school, including college, according to the settlement proposal. Matthew McConaughey, Mila Kunis, Jennifer Hudson, and Abbott Elementary creator and star Quinta Brunson have been named People magazine's 2022 People of the Year. The magazine unveiled its annual list Wednesday, with editor-in-chief Wendy Nagel explaining this year's honorees were selected because of their efforts to help others. McConaughey was chosen for his advocacy efforts after the Uvalde school shooting rocked his hometown. Kunis was lauded for her fundraising, which people said has topped $37 million for Ukraine, where she was born. Hudson and Brunson were honored for their on-screen work. Hudson, who launched a daytime talk show this year, was cited for her efforts to create an inclusive show where everyone felt welcome. Brunson's Abbott Elementary, a critical hit that turned her into an Emmy winner, was praised as a show that brought many joy and showed that different generations can work well together. Clarence Gilliard Jr., a popular supporting actor whose credits include the blockbuster films Die Hard and Top Gun, and the hit television series Matlock and Walker, Texas Ranger, has died at age 66. His death was announced this week by the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, where he taught stage and screen acting. Additional details were not immediately available Tuesday. Professor Gilliard was a beacon of light and strength for everyone around him at UNLV, the school's film chair Heather Edison said in a statement. Now it's time for global updates. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Wednesday condemned Russia's weeks-long assault on Ukraine's power grid and other infrastructure as an attempt to freeze and starve its people, with the war-torn country's foreign minister renewing a call for advanced missile systems. Blinken spoke after a meeting with his NATO counterparts in Bucharest, Romania, devoted in part to coordinating aid to keep the lights and furnaces on in Ukraine, where Russian strikes have damaged much of the country's electrical infrastructure. Russia has bombed out more than a third of Ukraine's energy system, plunging millions into cold, into darkness as frigid temperatures set in. Heat, water, electricity for children, for the elderly, for the sick. These are President Putin's new targets. He is hitting them hard, he said. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba has underscored that his country's biggest needs now are electrical gear and more advanced air defense systems than it has so far received from the US and other allies to stop Russia from bombing its grid in the first place. A bomb blast hit a religious school in northern Afghanistan on Wednesday, killing at least 10 students, a Taliban official said. The explosion went off at around the time of afternoon prayers at the Jihad Madrasa in Aibak, capital of Samangan province. A resident of the city who heard the explosion told the Associated Press. Most of the students at the school are young boys, said the resident, speaking on condition of anonymity for his own safety. Video distributed by the Taliban to the media showed the blast site, a hall littered with debris, mats and shoes, with dead bodies and blood stains on the floor. Sirens can be heard in the background and men, some of them armed, move through the hall, surveying the explosion's aftermath. Interior Ministry spokesman Abdul Nafi Thakur said a number of students were wounded in the attack. Samangan province has a majority population of ethnic Uzbeks. There was no immediate claim of responsibility, but the Afghan affiliate of the Islamic State group has been waging a campaign of violence that escalated since the Taliban took power in August 2021. China's ruling Communist Party has vowed to resolutely crack down on infiltration and sabotage activities by hostile forces, following the largest street demonstrations in decades staged by citizens fed up with strict antivirus restrictions. The statement from the Central Political and Legal Affairs Commission, released late Tuesday, comes amid a massive show of force by security services to deter a recurrence of the protests that broke out over the weekend in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and several other cities. While it did not directly address the protests, the statement serves as a reminder of the party's determination to enforce its rule. Hundreds of SUVs, vans, and armored vehicles with flashing lights were parked along city streets Wednesday, while police and paramilitary forces conducted random ID checks and searched people's mobile phones for photos, banned apps, or other potential evidence that they had taken part in the demonstrations. The number of people who have been detained at the demonstrations and in follow-up police actions is not known. Now it's time for business news. Today's New York stock close price is 15,780.02. The NYSE composite is increased by 346.56 points or 2.25%. Tokyo stock close price is 27,968.99. The Nikkei 225 index is decreased by 58.85 points or 0.21%. Shanghai stock close price is 3,151.3353. The Shanghai Composite Index is increased by 1.59 points or 0.05%. Hong Kong stock close price is 18,597.23. The Hang Seng Index is increased by 392.55 points or 2.16%. Bombay stock close price is 63,099.65. The Sensex index is increased by 417.81 points or 0.67%. Now a look of today's sports stories. The Major League Baseball Players Association has voted to extend the contract of Executive Director Tony Clark through 2027. The 50-year-old Clark, who had a 15-year big league career, mostly with the Tigers and Diamondbacks, helped broker the player's current labor deal with MLB. After several contentious months of negotiations, the MLBPA and MLB agreed to the new deal in March, which saved a full 162-game season. The MLBPA confirmed Clark's extension on Tuesday. Now, World Cup football match reports. Rest easy, soccer fans. Lionel Messi will grace the World Cup stage at least one more time. The Argentina great had a penalty saved, but his team still beat Poland 2-0 Wednesday after second-half goals from Alexis Mac Allister and Julian Alvarez and advanced to the last 16. Argentina finished in first place in Group C to set up a match against Australia, a surprise qualifier for the knockout stage. Henry Martin and Luis Chaves each scored in Mexico's furious attempt to stay alive at the World Cup, but the 2-1 victory Wednesday night over Saudi Arabia was not enough. Because of Argentina's 2-0 victory over Poland in a simultaneous match, Mexico failed to advance out of its group for the first time since 1978. Defending champion France won its World Cup group despite losing to Tunisia 1-0 Wednesday. Wahbi Khazri scored in the 58th minute to give the Tunisians the victory, but it wasn't enough to get them into the round of 16. Australia beat Denmark 1-0 in other Group D game and finished second on goal difference. Australia advanced to the round of 16 at the World Cup, beating favoured Denmark 1-0 Wednesday on Matthew Leakey's 6th-minute goal. It is Australia's first time in the knockout stage since 2006, the only other time they advanced out of the group stage. Let's have a look on today's weather chart. That's all in today's news. Keep watching Millennium News 24 for latest updates. Millennium TV US and Millennium News 24 network is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV. And also in all European countries and Australia available with the Sky Network, Worldwide Jagu TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jagu BD Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all types of informative and entertainment program. Thank you.